Well, I have to remind you all, if anyone feel you like to get enlightened, your first step is to keep smiling and keep laughing. You know, we think like if I be too serious, I will get enlightened very fast. I'm afraid to tell you, no, that's the first step. Just laugh about everything and be happy and keep smiling. And then we'll be okay. So that's the first step. So let's have an hour of good fun. Of course, I'm going to talk about the very basic understanding of the history, roots, and where the yoga therapy comes from and what it is really all about. And in between, if you all need a break, then we can do some small, kind of like a micro little relaxation practices. So just wave your hands to say, Jnandev, had enough, stop talking. Let's do something to ease a bit. Because once I start talking, I don't know when to stop. And that's okay. I believe you all are here for that, isn't it? I think let's start. So I'll just chant Gayatri Mantra, one for the Ganesh. As in our Sanatan tradition, we invoke the Lord Ganesha as the energy of remover of the obstacles. But also in the yogic traditions, ancient time, maybe, 20, 30, 40,000 years ago, when Maharishi Vedvyasa, he realized the teachings, he went to Lord Shiva and he said, what do I do with it? So Lord Shiva said, oh, write them down. So other people can use it. So he came back and he got overwhelmed because there was so much to write. So he comes back to Lord Shiva and I said, no, it just gives me, I'm panicking. It's like me panicking, like in what can I talk about yoga therapy? Because you need hundreds and thousands of hours to go through everything. So he comes back. So then Lord Shiva said, well, take Ganesh with you. So Maharishi Vedvyas, he dictated, he spoke while the Ganesh he was writing. So think of the typewriter, or now on the iPads and stuff, we have this thing called, voice record, and it types everything for you. So that's what Ganesh did. So in the education system, we begin expressing our gratitude for somebody to sort of put things in a script. And then we invoke the Guru Gayatri, which is again expressing our gratitude for the lineage, the system where the teachings come from. So you all can just enjoy and just have a little bit of, gratitude to our teachings, the source of the teaching itself. Okay. Om Tat Ganesaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Dantahi Prachodayate. Om Om Tat Paramparayaya Vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya Dhimahi Tanno Guruhu Prachodayate. Om Om Sri Gurabhyo Namaha Hari Om. Okay, so after expressing our gratitude to the system, the lineage, the teachings, what I really want to say, what I'm sharing is just a bit of my understanding, my experience, and sharing the teachings which existed eternally. So they have nothing to do much to do with me. Of course, my experience has to do with me, but I'm not really the source or the beginning or the end of the teachings. So we got 3 lessons now, one tomorrow and then one day after, sort of really trying to create a good understanding and the foundation of what is yoga therapy, where it comes from, and what are the key principles. And the reason me and Ramji, we discussed about it and we choose this topic for this year, because now there is so much happening in name of yoga therapy. People go on a weekend retreat, and then we got the prescriptive yoga. Seems to be you learn 2 things for something and you become a yoga teacher. And then you Google it, please, if you want to do anything to help people, my request, humble request, is stop Googling. I type yoga for back pain, and you see these amazing people doing wheel. And then they got the one leg in the sky, and then the other hand twisted behind, and I'm just like, are you trying to kill somebody with the back pain? Or you see somebody doing the Dhanurasana with the legs right stressed up, which I cannot do it, okay? So we're not doing that sort of demo. So I guess my first point really to begin with is, what is yoga and where is yoga therapy in it? And my answer will be in that concept, in that perspective. Really, the journey of yoga, if I look back at the history of yoga, it really begins from somebody who was suffering. Somebody had a problem, somebody had some sort of pain, and then that eventually lead us through the enlightenment or awakening. So in certain ways, you can say actually the yoga and yoga therapy are really not two separate things. The biggest difference in my understanding, if I see yoga as a collective teaching, where I might come and teach a collective class here, where we all can join and we do what we want to do. Some things we do a bit more than others, maybe some extra advanced variations or list variations. While yoga therapy is more an individual approach, where you are actually trying to understand who is coming to you to talk about what they need, and then you create a protocol, a teaching, a practice that is individually suitable for them. And this is where I was sort of teasing you all, Google something, and every poster that comes up on the first 5 to 10 top search engines are the ones people with that problem can never go near it. And they should not really, because it can be more harmful than beneficial. So in that way, if you see yoga as a big circle and yoga therapy is a small circle inside it, or you can reverse it other way around. Because either I'm looking for yoga as for my health and wellness, or yoga for enlightenment or awakening, well, they both are actually not separate. Now, in sort of our English language or our medical term, we say health is being free from disease. But actually, in Sanskrit, we have the word swastha, swastha, where you are established or connected within or with yourself, where you become you. One of kind of my favorite phrase, well, problem, the pain may or may not exist in your life. We really don't have control on that, okay? But the suffering is always our choice. So when we talk about swastha, it literally doesn't mean that you have a problem or not. It means you are trying to rise above it and find your best. So I call that concept of living your optimum potential. And as long as you can live your best, then you are free from that problem. Because that problem, the pain, suffering, whatever it is, it's not eating you anymore. And that's what yogic principle is anyway. Like, how do I become wholesome? Purna Purusa, which is to become one. Now, in a simplest form, I can say that Purna Purusa concept or the Swastha concept is what I think, what I speak, and what I do, can that become one? Coherence. So, in that way, the problem, the suffering, really begins with the sense of duality. Like the word disease, dis-ease. I'm not at ease with myself and I feel separate. So even the way we talk the language, my back pain, my headache, it seems like I own it. And it seems to have become a new trend, and it's an unconscious trend. I don't think anyone actually does it willingly. And I have come across many people, if you give them a badge of blood pressure or diabetes, they will walk around, let everyone know I got this problem. Well, that clinging, that association is creating a dis-ease. You are separating of yourself from what we call the Sat Chit Ananda. the state of bliss, state of joyfulness, or state of inner happiness, you can call it in a simplest form. So when I look back in that context, you pick any scripture. Let's start with Bhagavad Gita. The whole first chapter is Arjuna talking about, I got problems. And you know the biggest problem actually we have, our ego can become so big, even if you have problem, we're like, no, I'm fine. And especially when it comes to our inner mind, our psychology. Physically, I think we all are fine. If your knee's hurting, we all happy to like, oh, my knee's not good, my knee's not good. But if something in us, either the part of our personality, part of our being, part of our character, part of our psychology, it takes a hell to even come to that point and say like, there is something not right with me. Can somebody help me? You know, how many times we go to talk to somebody just to tell them what we want to tell them, but we're not even looking for solution. So in Bhagavad Gita, how it begins, or the whole chapter, first chapter, and then almost the part of the second chapter, all Arjuna talks about, I'm depressed, I'm deluded, I don't see what's the point me doing what I need to do while I can go and live in mountains and get enlightened, hiding away from real life. I look at Yoga Vasishtha again, Lord Rama, he was depressed, he was deluded, he was suffering through all the mental anxiety and instability. What's the point me doing what I need to do? You know, when we wake up in the morning and you got all the dishes in front of you and you're just like, oh, why do I have to do it? Can somebody else do it? That's exactly. Now I'm talking actually not people just like me living a simple life. I'm talking about people who are actually very higher up. You know, somebody like Arjuna, he was already awake, he was self-realized, he has all the siddhis. Lord Rama, he himself was incarnation of Vishnu. But actually the wisdom teachings, their living teachings will come in, they will become part of you when you realize that I need to do something to help myself. And I do kind of like find amazing actually the amount of people I talk in yoga field. If you look back, where did your yoga journey begin? I can tell you 80% of us will say, I had this problem or that problem, or I had enough of something and I wanted to make a healthy, a positive change. So if you begin to look at the two of the system together, then actually they both are one. So in a way, if I try to define what is yoga therapy and what is yoga separately, I would say it's actually limiting both of them. Because the very first step of yoga is to get rid of all the pain, the suffering, the miseries, either it's physical, mental, psychic, energetic, and then what we call the psychological in our behavior, our thoughts, our choices, and then you are ready to transcend all of that. Remember, if I don't have something, how can I transcend it? So that's also that I will tell you all, like some of us can be so desperate to transcend or renounce, and we got nothing to renounce. So in that way, the yoga and yoga therapy are actually just looking at it from two perspectives. And the biggest difference for me as a teacher, because I teach yoga teacher training courses, I run yoga therapy courses, in both of them, in one we are really following a collective approach. In other one, we are looking at the individualistic approach. So it's sort of think of like when somebody comes to me for yoga therapy, means they have tried different ways, but they're not being able to work it out themselves. So they need a little bit help. Either that can be counseling, that can be asana practice, pranayama practice, sound practice, maybe the diet, lifestyle. Because there's so many different things each of us need to make the change, to move forward or reconnect back to our health and wellness.
So
you can certainly say yoga therapy is adapted or applied form of yoga. And I can tell you all it's applicable. There's so much research now has been done how yoga can be great, useful or helpful tool as especially as a preventive medicine. Like we really don't know, like if, like I do ask myself now and then, where would I be if I would not have found yoga? Especially when I put the problems and the challenges I have to face through, how would I have dealt with them if I did not have the tools and the principles and the practices of yoga? I really honestly don't know. Maybe somewhere hanging around in pub, feeling lost. And I see many people, just got nothing to achieve, nothing to do, and they don't know what to do. So if yoga is a path, which is what you follow as a direction, this is literally what Patanjali says in a very first sutra, Atha Yoga Anusasanam. We are here to live or follow the path of discipline. Of course, there are many other translations. We can also translate it. Once you have certain discipline, then you are ready to follow the path or learn the practices of yoga. So in that way, in yoga therapy, actually, that first step is recognition. It's like when you see a doctor, well, what's most important is diagnosis. You go and tell the doctor, something wrong with me, can you give me a pill? Well, he or she is going to keep asking you what is actually wrong with you. Otherwise, they will just like, get out. You're wasting my time because nothing much I can do. But here you're really talking to yourself, and in my own experience, developing that ability to be able to actually look into ourselves and see what I need to do. It's a very tough practice.
Yep.
Because you're going to remove the layers of onion, which is your samskaras, your karma, all the physical, mental, psychic injuries, traumas and all sorts of stuff. And it seems to be easy to keep running away from it. Because you forget. So forgetfulness seems to be easy option. The problem is, it's still in there. So until we get rid of it, it's sort of like, I remember now and then, my guru, Amaji used to say, well, if you got rubbish, do you take it under your bed and hide it? I know it doesn't sound very nice, but do we hide it under, or do we take it out to where it belongs? And to me, yoga therapy is actually that journey that you go through yourself to get rid of all the baggage, and then through getting rid of the baggage, you come back to what we call Sukha Sthanam, a state of ease, a state of oneness, state of that freedom. Then most of the time, actually, freedom from ourselves. I can tell you all, because it's easy to think that I want to free myself from everybody else. But the truth, when you talk about your samskaras and your inner energetic blockages, or whatever term you want to use it, it's actually mostly within ourself, within our psychological proceedings. And until I begin to work with myself, not really much going to happen. So if the yoga is a path, yoga is a practice, and yoga is a wholesome state to come to samadhi, the union, the oneness, the transcendence, then the application of that will be, how do I regain or reconnect with my health? And in many form, I take it actually simply, how can I take control of myself again? Because not actually everyone come to classes to become super flexible. Lots of people come, I just want to find a way to ease my knees and my back so I can sit quiet and do my 5-10 minute meditation. If you would have joined Helen's class hour ago, somebody would definitely come to you later on and say like, wow, can you teach me something that I can be at ease for that hour and a half? That's enough. Somebody will come and like, can you do something, help me, so I can eat and enjoy my food. Also, people have indigestion issues, constipation issues. So many times it may not even be a bigger picture of what you and me think. People just want to find a way to reconnect with their real self.
Okay.
So if yoga is a wholesome approach towards enlightenment, then the yoga therapy is an individualistic approach for each individual to help them regain control on their life.
Brandon.
Many years ago, remember, somebody was actually on wheelchair, and only thing he wanted to regain control on his legs so I can move easily from my wheelchair to the bed, so my wife doesn't have to struggle with it every day, and I can get back to the wheelchair when I need to, so I can move around in the house easily. And then of course you follow some isometric kriyas and prakriyas for the legs and arms and some visualizations to help that person. So yoga therapy can be as simple as what we call the symptomatic relief, which is helping people to ease some pain, ease some discomfort. That discomfort or pain can be physical, mental, psychic, or energetic. Then it can be to rehabilitate, re-empower yourself again to start living your full potential again. But if we can follow those practices, those kriyas and prakriyas for long term, then actually yoga can help us to reverse the damage we have caused to ourselves. Now in modern medicine, we call that concept salutogenesis, and it's becoming very much popular. Now of course salutogenesis is not possible with the medicine, antibiotics and all that, because that's only the symptomatic relief. But through a holistic lifestyle, appropriate diet, exercise, also the kind of people and the energy you spend your time with, we do have the potential to actually repair ourselves. Issue is always there, do we want to be repaired? That's definitely something to ask for, and I guess the issue is we love the tablet, a quick pill.
Yeah.
Many years ago, again, I had a little bit of back issue, and then my good friend Andy was there, and like, I'm going to teach you a few things, Jnandev, and then hopefully you'll be fine. I have to follow that simple 3-step practice, and I still remember it, for at least 6 months to forget about the issue that I had. But I have to motivate myself, I have to enforce myself, I have to remind myself. So you just like learn something, and I've done it for once or twice, and then you're like, no, it's not working, let's do something else. So when you come to yoga therapy as a practice, as a path, it needs patience, it needs lots of love for yourself, or if you seeing somebody as a yoga therapist, then they need love, support, motivation, compassion from you, and also you need to help developing those abilities or those skills in people. I think we all love self-judging. We are quite good in that. Wow, that is literally toxic and self-harm. But we are master of that. In Zen tradition, in Jainism, it says the meditation can be classified in 2 categories. Okay, so the positive meditation and the negative meditation. And then the Mahavira, who established the system, he said, we all are naturally master of negative meditation. Somebody just need to give us such a little stimulus or a trigger about something. If somebody is walking past and you're having your chai, all they need to say like, I can't believe you're not having vegan chai today. Rest of the day, we will be reminding that again and again. Why did he or she say that? What do they want from me? What did I do wrong? So he said that negative meditation, we all are very good. We are master of it. For the positive psychology, positive mind, positive attitude, we have to work with ourselves. So in that way, actually the Ashtanga Yoga, so from the yamas and niyamas, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, all these practices, when you look at their application, they can help people at a different place where they are to regain control on their body, control on their psychology, or even to have some control on what they wish to do in their life. Now, as a yoga therapy, then of course yoga offers us a holistic practice. And why do I call it holistic? And I like to use the word with a W, not with a H. And the reason is whole, and then you say holistic. So it provides you the tools to become complete, wholesome. So here my question simply to understand the holistic principle or yoga therapy. Well, for us to exist, we need to eat. We need to have people around our life. We need to breathe. We need to excrete. We need to procreate. We need to sing. We need to dance. We got a million things. Okay, I'm just keeping it as simple as we can. Well, if I'm eating unhealthy and toxic food, it doesn't matter how much physical practice I do, how much enlightening chanting I do, well, my body is going to be toxic. If I'm not moving my body enough, the lethargic or the sedentary life, well, my joints are going to ache and become stiff and going to suffer. If I don't look after my energetic self, it doesn't matter how great I think or what scripture I'm learning, I'm just going to feel like exhausted and zombie. You see amount of people walk around with so much wisdom like a zombie. So really, looking after one bit of you, is that enough? I'm afraid to say no. The one bit can be enough to look after one aspect of your health and your wellness. When you think of the Panchakosa system, you got Annamaya Kosa, your anatomic body. How do we look after that? Well, some of you can say do a good asana practice. And for the asana, for the Hatha Yoga practice, you may choose Vinyasa, you may choose Ashtanga, Iyengar, Hatha. Again, there is so many of them. I think a couple of weeks ago, I was looking at it. Last time when I came to World Yoga Festival, this is a fact. There were 118 registered yoga paths, what we call the modern. I'm not talking about the ancient ones. In ancient, there were 9 major. Out of them, the 4 were really the important: the Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti, and the Raj Yoga. And now then we have the 9, and then we have 18. Now, there is a new school, a new system rising every day. So I think we are looking at around 300 plus different systems. Some of them are quite funny. I haven't done them, so I can't really talk much. Like yoga with bear, yoga with dogs, yoga with goats, and naked yoga. There's all sorts of out there. So there are actually more than 300 different systems registered. Anyway, what I'm trying to say, I really don't mind whichever you follow to keep your body fit. Even if you go for a swim, go for a gym, run up and down the hill a couple of times, as long as you don't roll down. We've done that. Well, then we have what we call the Pranamaya Kosa, your energetic field. Well, your energy can be associated with your breath. Energy can be associated with your food. Am I eating the food that is making me feel vital, or am I eating the food that is draining me? I know this another concept is becoming so popular, the concept of sattvic diet. I think in Yoga Chikitsa, I tend to find like it's a little bit tricky to say what is sattvic diet, because for you, with your constitution, your gunas, your dosas, and whatever health you are trying to overcome, you will have to find what is appropriate diet to support your healing, your health, your wellness. But anyway, appropriate diet. If somebody says, well, this is a very classical example. Somebody say after your, I'm sure you all do once in every few years some annual blood tests and stuff. You don't, then that's fine too. But if, after your blood tests, doctor may say, well, you are pre-diabetic and you need to look after yourself. Many people will say, oh, I'll look after myself when I had it. But it means if I can work a little bit on my diet, reduce the amount of sugar, increase a little bit more exercise and become a bit more active, then I can prevent that before it happens.
Happy.
Well, I do need to work on my diet. I do need to work on my energy. Maybe you choose the pranayama as a practice. Maybe you choose a classical sort of geometrical postures and the mandalas and the relaxation techniques, yoga nidra techniques for recharging your batteries. But what about people in our life?
Very good.
Some people you meet and you just feel like, oh, I'm glad. I feel like I got my life again. And some people you meet and they just suck life out of you.
What's up?
Or, like somebody was talking to me like, every night I get nightmares. Wow. You see sometime as a practitioner, the stupidest thing we don't ever think, do we? And it took me 5 sessions, one-to-one consultation, counseling and listening somebody to realize that she is addicted to horror movies in the night.
What?
Well, tell me, if you're going to watch a horror film, you're not going to have the love story in your dream. Can you see my point? So, when you're thinking of your wholesome being, you got to work with every little thing. People with the issue with the sleep. Please don't take it personally, okay? I don't judge anybody, and I'm just like you all too. 80% people, their problem is they do all their Instagram and Facebook, whatever they do, from 11 to 2 in the morning, and then they say, I can't sleep. Well, your nervous system, your ophthalmic nerves, your brain is overstimulated, while we need it to shut down 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, or maybe let's say 11 o'clock if you can't do that at that time. So in that way, the yoga therapy or yoga chikitsa is actually to work on your wholesome being, where you begin to learn, how do I look after my body, how do I look after my mind, how do I look after my energy. And then hopefully you can see that if you try to work on the one corner, it's like, I was actually with somebody last year, not here, but elsewhere in kind of towards the end of October, November. And it was one of the hot day, and then, so like get into the room, and then first thing this guy does, he turns all the heaters up because it was hotel room. And so like I paid for it. And then the next thing we do is open the windows. And I just looked at him like, oh man, let's turn the heating off, and then we don't need to do it. So can you see my point? When you're thinking of your holistic being, it's not also just your own inner self. You got to also work on the outer self. You got to bring that sense of authenticity, the simplicity, where we have the practices, the principles of yamas and niyamas. So in a bigger picture, actually, the yoga therapy is not just go and help somebody to do a deeper stretch or a deeper twist or something here and there. It's to understand somebody individually, understand their life, and help them to see what they need to do. So I think most of the time I would not even have to say, I would not have to say to somebody, well, you need to change this or that, because they will be talking about, oh, I know I should not eat sugar and I have sugar in everything. I can't stop eating cakes. Or you have to find a way to help that person to understand why they need to stop it or how they can replace it.
Okay.
So hopefully you all can begin to see that in that way, the holistic path of yoga and the holistic path of yoga therapy are actually not two separate. They are not two separate paths or practices. Now, issue with I guess especially with the yoga therapy is what we all like to do in the modern system, the way we live our life. We like to have everything prescriptive. And this is definitely like in the trainings when I run the yoga therapy trainings and stuff. How many times people are like, so Jnandev, what I'm going to do with the diabetes? What I'm going to do with the depression? Like, talk to the individual and try to understand them, try to listen their voice and see what they tell you, what they need to do. And that's something I really would say that the modern yoga therapy, and I say it modern because it's becoming popular. It's becoming very much popular, very much trendy. It's sort of like, I guess, we all have new age things coming up here and there, and then eventually, hopefully, they will refine and then things will stabilize again. So if I want to practice or follow the yoga therapy path as a yoga teacher especially, then I would have to go back to retrain myself through the holistic teachings or the holistic concepts and perspectives, and then develop the skills, how do I work with people. And of course, the first person is always to work with myself. Remember, yoga, either you're talking at a therapeutic sense or as a holistic sense, until and unless it becomes your experience, it's nothing more than information. And I love my favorite phrase, the sutra from Swami Vivekananda, any wisdom without the practice is poison.
Not my moments.
So if I don't know that stealing somebody else's food is bad, all I'm thinking in my psychology is I need to eat and live. So if I see I'm walking out and I see food, we pick it up and eat it. Like kids do, isn't it? Like as a kid, I can remember, like my uncle's farm and all the local farms around. You go and pick a fruit here, you eat, until somebody sits down and tell you stealing fruits without somebody's permission is wrong.
I heard.
So in that way, all the yogic wisdom, please remember, its first application is to bring it in your practice.
Why?
So you might remember ahimsa, non-violence, compassion. If I practice it, I can be free of anger, pain, frustration, my heart will come to peace. I can tell you, one of the best practice for your heart problems is non-violence. If you don't want to do asana, pranayama and all that, learn to be kind, compassion, forgiving, easy-going with yourself in a positive sense. Because there is other extreme too, where people have this idea of non-judgmental, like, I do anything I want to do because Jnandev said, don't care about it. So please, I'm not saying that extreme. I'm talking from the right place. But if I just learn, if I do ahimsa, then my heart will be at peace. Is it really going to do any good to me? I can tell you no. So in that way, I think whatever practice you pick, either you're looking at Yoga Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Vijnana Bhairav Tantra, Yoga Vasishta, please try to always understand that these teachings are living teachings. Of course, we have the text to reference, but the teachings are referenced as a living teaching. They need to live through you. And this is where the therapy begins. This is where the healing begins. Healing is a little bit tricky word, and I know the reason is kind of like the minute you say we heal, it seems to be claiming that we're going to cure something. And I also really don't like the word in such, because there is no guarantee of anything. There is definitely guarantee for you to come back to Swa Asta if you follow the path, if you follow the practices, but there is no guarantee that you will cure some physical or mental or psychic health problems. 99% time, if you follow the path, it's going to repair you. So to me, from the disease, from the dvaita, from the dvandva, the conflict of right, wrong, positive, negative, hot, cold, me, you, through the yogic journey of Ashtanga Yoga, from the Bhakti Yoga, from the Jnana Yoga, from the Karma Yoga, You can transcend that ego, you can transcend that asmita, and then when you start to move through that, you will find yourself coming back home. So in that way, I guess, like the way my simplest of understanding of yoga and yoga therapy is learning how to come back home in there. It's like, it's something, again, we seem to take it negative, like self-care, self-love. It's just like, if you like say, oh, Jnandev, I need to go and have 10-minute relaxation. Can you please, do you not mind? And when people say that, I'm like, oh, if your body need rest, go and rest. Stop feeling guilty about it. Unless you're skipping your duty, then stay there. Or arrange somebody else to be there. So in that way, again, it's not that, it's just getting 1 o'clock and they're like, oh, I'm just feeling tired. I'm going to go and have a nap. That's also wrong. So we got to also come to that, what we call the appropriate living. And I love the concept of asteya, which is not taking anything for granted. It's very easy to understand the physical stealing, isn't it? I don't take something that's not mine, but what about stealing time? Stealing somebody's energy? So every little thing we have in yoga actually can be experimented or applied as a yoga therapy for people at a different phase of their life. In a holistic yoga therapy, the yoga therapy is not just correcting the asana, which seems to be a new trendy thing. And I'm not, please, I want to make sure, I'm not actually against it, but just saying that if I fixed the shoulder with somebody's help, it's gone. No. It will come back again, whatever the triggering point is, either your posture, your lifestyle, it will keep coming back. It's sort of like what we have this concept of trauma. If you would have come to me 10 years ago, I used to think of trauma as like getting beaten up and being abused and stuff. But actually, every little pain that we have not processed or we have not let go of it is a trauma for your panchakosa system, your 5 bodies. And that can be as simple as somebody promised you, I will see you there for a cup of tea, and that person did not turn up and did not text you, like, I'm really sorry. That can stick in us, and that can be enough to keep stirring up our inner energy. So this dvaita, this dvandva or the duality is actually causing disruption in what we call the coherence. Does your body follows your mind? Do you know where your feet take you? You have control on it. I was talking to somebody not long back, and seems to be really amazing. I think he's an amazing guy. He's just like trying to deal through the alcohol addiction and stuff. And more I understood him, he said, you see, until 4, 5 o'clock, I'm fine. I know why not to drink, and I know what damage it is doing for kidneys. And then he said, there is a time where I don't know how I got where I was. It's like the feet take control, our indulgences, our desires, or whatever it is, something impulsive in us takes control of us.
I like this.
So to me, the very simple way to understand your life is your feet walk where you want to go. Your eyes see what you like to see. Your ears hear what you like to hear. Which means I have to take my ears at the right place. I have to take my eyes to the right place. I have to take my heart to the right place. And I think when you begin to see that bigger perspective of your life, then you can actually see the yoga and yoga therapy is this holistic way to work on your wholesome. I really love the way Swami Geetananda Giri, the guru, the founder of the Geetananda system, he says that the yoga and yoga chikitsa are the holistic approach that simultaneously follows each other. It's the only thing choosing different is the terminology or how we understand them.
Well,
How I apply it. I got to find a way where somebody is struggling and how do I give that practice to somebody. While like in yoga, of course, I can just talk about, if I wanted to talk about yoga today, I would have just said, okay, this is yoga and these are the practices and let's move on. So my question can be, how much time you spend knowing yourself? Like we have the classical self-inquiry, koham, who am I? But in a very basic sense, who am I, what I want to do, or what I need to do to be able to do what I like to do. Sometimes you have to find people, sort of like, say, I thought I will book Airbnb somewhere, and then everyone no, camp with us, and then I have to find a few people who, gather the tent and gather everything. So in a way, you got to create all that right energy, right space for make things happen. So wanting is a very easy thing. Desiring for something is a very easy thing. We all wish to be healthy and happy. And it's one of the Swami Gitananda Giri's favorite phrase that every life, your first dharma, your first duty, if you want to call it a duty, is to be healthy and to be happy. So it is actually your birthright. From the yogic perspective, you're not born to be punished, you're not born to be tortured. Your life is not given to you because you have to go through some sort of hell. Well, from yogic approach, your life is an opportunity to learn, to experience the lessons you need to go through. And sometimes if we have overused our bank credit card, then of course we get a bill at the end of the month. I had it a couple of months ago. But that's okay, isn't it? I can't abuse the bank, can I? Sometimes we get a bill because we are overcompensating, overstressing, or overexerting. Either it's your physical body, your joint, your relationship, your psychology. We have to work on it to come back what we call the Sukhisthanam. And that's what holistic yoga therapy or yoga chikitsa provides us, the tools and the practices and the perspectives. And hopefully in the next session, which will be tomorrow, I will be talking about the key yoga therapy tools, like as looking at the asana as a practice, pranayama as a practice, and we hopefully will do a little bit practices tomorrow because it will be a little bit more easier.
Okay.
I think I will stop here for now. So if some of you may have some questions, you can ask. And if any one of you interested in becoming a yoga therapist, if you are a yoga teacher or health practitioner, have a chat with me and get some more information. Yeah, for now, if you got some questions, and we got good 10 minutes to talk about it, and I also got lots of books here if anyone want to buy some books written by my little ego somewhere in the back.
That is
Yes, please.
I think it's necessary to be a yoga therapist to have done the kind of, prescriptive style, to learn how to be a yoga teacher first? Or do you think there's that's when you become a yoga therapist?
Okay, that's quite a good question. Do I need to be a yoga teacher? The only issue, you don't have to, but you do. And my issue is that through the yoga man training, you develop the teaching skills. And this is why I said, if you are already a health professional or working with people in some sort of health and well-being, then you don't have to. Because the yoga therapy training itself we don't really spend lots of time in developing certain skills. So if you're already working with people, then yes, you can have a chat with me afterwards. But yes, for moving on the yoga therapy training, then you need to be either a health professional or somebody who is working with people. Ideally, a yoga teacher, because then you kind of have the basic training to support that learning process. Otherwise, I may just, like today, say I just said yamas and niyamas as a tool. So in the which we would have studied them in yoga teacher training. So in a way, then I might just talk about what it means to people with the different problems and how do you find a way to give it to somebody. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes, Helen, please.
You started to answer what I was going to ask. I was going to ask you, do you think it's important to be very familiar with the Yoga Sutra in order to be a yoga therapist?
Yes, especially if you are looking into working with the psychological part, which is, remember, the psychosomatics. Your mind plays such an important role in your health and wellness and your sickness. So what goes in my mind is manifesting in my body. So if I'm to find the tools to work with my mind, with my psychology, then yes, because this is where the fundamental teachings are. Of course, I can choose to go into Bhagavad Gita instead, but the bigger picture of yoga, that's the Yoga Sutras are really, sort of think of them as the composition of the yogic teaching, the yogic framework. Now, to understand each of the sutra, then of course I have to reference it elsewhere. Why? Because Patanjali says, Patanjali owns it, let's say he discussed or explains 3 sutras on asana. And lots of people say, the Patanjali had no interest in asana. No, he just mentioned it and he said, to learn the Hatha Yoga, learn the asanas, to come to that Sukhasthanam, hopefully you will go and learn it somewhere else. He talks about ahimsa and all the yamas and niyamas, doesn't go in detail because to understand each principle, we have to look into Upanishads. So in that way, rightfully, having a good understanding of Yoga Sutras gives you a clear framework. Otherwise, we are like asana yoga therapy, pranayam yoga therapy, counseling yoga therapy, massage yoga therapy, diet yoga therapy. What Yoga Sutras do, they put all of them and then you branch it out to see where this care seeker need to work on asana. Now, where do I find asana? Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Garen Samhita, and other system. Somebody need to work on pranayam. Where do I find it? So in that way, somebody need meditation practices. Maybe you look at the Vijnana Bhairav Tantra. Somebody need the dietary practices. Maybe you reference it down into the Panch Mahabhuta system of naturopathy, which is part of yoga, or the dietary system of Ayurveda. I hope that answered it. So yes, Yoga Sutras are really the framework. Otherwise, we become one of this or one of that. Yes, please.
Yeah.
I think I can hear you, yeah.
So you mentioned lot of things that the Panchakoshas, the koshas, the Vigeli, the Yogasana, the Pranayam, the meditation, and the Ayurveda. But these are itself, each one of them is such a large volume. How can I combine everything to get that? Okay, if I am a particular dosha, say Pitta dosha, I need to follow this diet, this yoga, this meditation, this technique, this body. How do I get to that kind of direction? Because these are such a large text. Multiple lifetimes, I cannot finish everything.
Great question. Thank you. So it's almost like fitting me on the right direction to answer what we do in yoga therapy training. So actually in the Sanatan and the Gitananda yoga tradition, we holistically work on our dosas, our gunas, our lifestyle, our psychology with the Yoga Sutras, with the pranayams, with the asana. And in a way, really, the Gitananda system is a holistic place where we have all the parts of yoga in one place. So sign up for the training and I promise I will take you through that journey. Otherwise, yes, we have to, everything is scattered. You very, very right about it. And it takes time. It takes time and lots of training. Just don't give up learning. That's my advice. Keep learning a bit by bit and it will connect.
Correctly, I'm like the scattering in me with waiting during there and with my push. That's it.
Well, just come and sign up and I'll take you through that. Great, thank you very much, everyone. If there are some leaflets or some books here, if anyone fancy coming and seeing and getting anything, please do. Thank you.